Hey everyone, welcome back. This explainer is brought to you by Forge College. Now, if you hung out with us for our last lesson, security audit methods and checklists, you know we've been going pretty hard on making our code super robust, right? We literally looked at how idempotent automation can squash those annoying retry errors. But let's be real. What happens when things still blow up? Today, we're shifting gears in this explainer on risk analysis and debugging for leveraged flows. We're putting on our detective hats and moving from construction to forensics. We're going to dive into how to identify, simulate, and debug the most common failure modes in leveraged transactions. Let's get into it.
So think of this like an episode of CSI DeFi. Picture this. We're tracking down a transaction failure where an Oracle price just plummets out of absolutely nowhere. The fallout? A perfectly healthy leveraged flow instantly gets thrown into a liquidation-like state. Ouch. Honestly, it's a developer's absolute worst nightmare. But don't worry, today we're going to learn exactly how to catch this culprit red-handed.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our blueprint for the day. First up, the scene of the crime. Then, setting up the lab. Third, the Oracle shock simulation. Fourth, gathering forensic evidence. Fifth, implementing circuit breakers. And finally, the final debug report.
All right, part 1, the scene of the crime, identifying the culprits. You know, to solve a crime, you first got to know your usual suspects. Well, our previous work with idempotent automation was great for cutting down transient RPC retry errors. Real leveraged flows, yeah, they still fail in the wild. And when they do, we're usually looking at one of 3 main culprits: slippage and multi-hop swaps, super rapid Oracle price moves, and race conditions that actually trigger liquidations. We need to learn how to hunt these guys down.
Let's talk about the most notorious suspect of the bunch, Oracle drift. This is basically a sudden, rapid change in the price reported by an oracle, which instantly invalidates your collateral assumptions. It's kind of like, imagine you're at the grocery store, right? The total is $50. But the exact millisecond you swipe your credit card, the cashier hikes the bill to $500. Boom, your card declines because you're suddenly under-collateralized. That right there, that's an oracle shock.
Moving on to part 2, setting up the lab, building the debug kit.
So to study this kind of explosive failure, we really need a safe bunker. We need a deterministic local test environment. We absolutely can't just experiment on a live network where variables are constantly shifting around. Setting up our forensic lab takes just a few precise steps. First, we initialize our node project. Then we pull on our dependencies, specifically the Solana Web3.js and SPL token libraries. Next, we fire up a local test validator straight from the command line. And finally, we generate a local test key pair. That way, our scripts can sign transactions without risking any real funds whatsoever.
Now, what's really interesting here is the contrast. You might be wondering, why use a local validator instead of just testing on DevNet? Well, DevNet has network latency, and honestly, it's non-deterministic. It changes between runs. A local validator, on the other hand, gives us absolute deterministic control over our accounts and our mock oracles. It guarantees we can reproduce the crime consistently, every single time, without any random network noise messing up our investigation.
All right, part 3, the Oracle shock simulation, recreating the crime.
We've got our lab set up, so now it's time to trigger a controlled failure using a handy helper script we'll call reproduce.ts. Here is the step-by-step sequence for our controlled explosion. First, we use the script to mint test tokens and seed a mock Oracle account with a totally normal price. Second, we deliberately inject an Oracle shock right before the leverage swap actually settles. And because we're doing this on a local validator, we can literally manually write a new, drastically lower price directly to the Oracle account data to force a race condition. Finally, we capture the output and successfully produce our failing run.
Let's look at the exact chronological trail in the mempool that leads to this total disaster. Okay, so at millisecond 1, the deposit goes through. Millisecond 2, the borrow occurs. Millisecond 3, the swap initiates. But right at millisecond 4, bam, right before settlement, our malicious Oracle update transaction lands. The price completely tanks. By millisecond 5, the transaction fails because the state is now dangerously under-collateralized.
Which brings us to part 4, gathering forensic evidence, examining the diffs.
Okay, we've successfully recreated the crime. Now it's time to dust for prints and see exactly what the system saw. Our primary forensic fingerprint kit is a really cool method called simulate transaction. This is an incredible tool because it lets us capture program logs and super detailed error codes without actually committing any changes to the blockchain state. It lets us peek under the hood to see exactly what went wrong right before the damage became permanent. Along with those logs, we also need to take account snapshots from right before and right after the transaction. By comparing the token balances and collateral amounts between these two states, we generate what we call account diffs. And guys, these diffs are the smoking gun. They pinpoint the exact state changes that trip the system and threw that fatal insufficient collateral error.
On to part 5, implementing circuit breakers, securing the system.
So, investigating the crime is really only half the job. Now we need to install a security system using a script like mitigate.ts. When it comes to mitigation, a massive, sweeping logic rewrite is almost never the best first answer. Often, a tiny pre-flight check is way better. We've got two solid strategies here. We can either tighten the acceptable slippage or collateral margin parameters, or we can add a lightweight circuit breaker directly to our client logic.
Let's zoom in on that circuit breaker. What exactly is it? Well, it's a super lightweight pre-flight check that queries the Oracle account before acting. It completely aborts the transaction flow if the Oracle's freshness metadata, like its last updated slot, is older than a safe threshold, or if the price delta has just moved way too drastically. Basically, it stops the transaction dead in its tracks if anything looks even slightly suspicious.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. Looking at the disaster scenario, our initial run proceeds totally blindly into an under-collateralized position, resulting in a massive program error. But on the flip side, our mitigated run catches that bad data right away. It safely aborts, resulting in a totally harmless no-op or an explicit diagnostic error string, something like Oracle stale. Boom, trap completely avoided.
Finally, part 6, the final debug report, closing the case.
Look, every good investigation ends with paperwork. It's just a fact. To officially close this case, we compile a concise debug report for the integration team. Now, your debug report needs to be structured and highly factual. It should include the exact commands to reproduce the failure. It absolutely must contain the key logs, including those explicit diagnostics from simulate transaction. It needs the account divs, and make sure to include the raw base64 account data and timestamped evidence there. Next, you need a clear one-paragraph root cause that links the evidence straight to the failure. And lastly, document the tested mitigation that actually resolved the issue. So, what does this all mean for you? The absolutely crucial points to take away for your daily developer workflows are these. First, always treat the Oracle as a first-class input. Its freshness metadata is just as important as the price itself. Second, never guess. Reproduce failures deterministically in a local validator first. And third, prefer small, highly testable mitigations, like circuit breakers, to quickly reduce your risk without totally overcomplicating your code base.
The debug report and mitigation scripts you just learned to build are going to be absolutely vital for our next lesson, Solana Programming Interfaces for DeFi Integrations. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Remember to visit forge.college to master even more Web3 topics and continue building your expertise. So with this new toolkit in hand, I want to leave you with this. How will you use these forensic debugging skills to design safer client-side interactions in your own protocols? Think about it. I'll see you in the next one.